All right, and here we are back at it, the first day of June 2021, episode 41. For those of you that are, for the few of you, the one of you, perhaps, that might be a Dave Matthews fan, check out 41. Specifically, if you're going to look for a specific version of 41, you should check out April 20th, 2002 from Ottawa. Funny enough, they had Bela Fleck opening for them the yearly part of that tour. I was there the night before and missed that show. And they played a 32-minute version of 41 where essentially the Flecktones take over and they play for about 15, 20 minutes. And it's pretty great. Probably the most legendary version of 41 that band has. Anyway, we're not here to talk about Dave. We're here to talk about Dave's buddy Trey and Trey's buddies John, Mike, and Paige. How you doing, buddy? Great, Dr. K, you doing all right?
Good, man. That was a good intro. And I don't know, man. We're kind of here to talk about music too. And the Flecktones they got their shit together musically. They're pretty awesome.
Yeah, I don't know. I know I follow Jeff Coffin, the sax player, on Twitter, largely because he's the replacement sax player in Dave since Leroy Moore passed. But he's constantly posting pictures with him and Victor Wooten and Future Man, but nothing with Bela Fleck himself. I don't really see much there. I saw them twice, both times at Massey Hall, and man, what a band. Victor Wooten is just...
Oh, Victor, he's next level, man.
Yeah, it's funny when you sent me that clip a few weeks ago with Corey Wong and Guitar Gate guy talking about Live at the Quick. I have Live at the Quick in a DVD buried in that storage room right there, and I haven't watched it in forever. And I remember watching that solo of Amazing Grace, I think it was, many, many times. Anyway, this wasn't on the agenda to talk about, but nevertheless, people go check that stuff out. They're great.
I agree.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
Like, I mean, you would never think that banjo, a bassist, a virtuoso who can play any kind of style, great with pedals and loops and all that stuff, sax. Jeff Coffin can play two saxes at the same time, and then you get this guy Future Man who dreams up a drumitar, which is like a guitar-shaped thing, but it's a machine that does drum sounds on it, and he plays it upright, almost like he's holding an upright bass. It's yeah, what a sight to see. So if you've never heard of Bela Fleck and the Flecktones, YouTube them, check them out. So last week, Dinner and a Movie, the 1993 show, 7/24. Did you watch it all in one night? I couldn't. I'm an old man. I fell asleep right at the set break.
It took me two, but we did it. We did Wednesday, Thursday. First set Wednesday, second set Thursday.
How the hell would we ever do two real shows in a row and actually stay up past 11 p.m. 2 nights in a row?
We probably can't talk about how we would do it, but you know exactly, buddy. Don't you worry.
We're going into training and doing some adjustments to my sleep schedule. But Dinner and Movie, great, right? I mean, it was, in terms of video production, better than I thought it was going to be. I think last week I was saying, hey, get ready for the single camera in and out. It was multi-cam. You got to really kind of see the band. Let's get into it. What were some of your highlights?
Yeah, so I called it. I sent you the thing. I think the biggest highlight was there's lots of highlights. The show was incredible. I called it the Led Zeppelin Effect. And the reason that I called it the Led Zeppelin Effect is because Led Zeppelin was the first band that I grew up with where I discovered that not just Jimmy Page and Robert Plant should be listened to. Like, you need to listen to all of the musicians. And the thing that struck me the most, and I've gone back many times and listened to all the Zeppelin records, listening to John Paul and listening to John Bonham, and it was so worth it. But the thing that struck me the most was how brilliantly it was mixed. And I've never had trouble hearing Mike ever before, but on this show you could really, it was clear.
I agree.
And hearing him so clearly, brought attention to, I don't know, man, why he's just one of the most incredible bass players on the planet, right? It was just incredible to hear his parts. It was incredible to hear his parts in Divided Sky. Again, I've listened to it all before, but I was just really reminded of how awesome the guy is, So there was just that whole aspect of oh my God, and you can hear the comments. I was reading the comments on YouTube, and the guy was in caps, I can hear Mike. Right? And I'm yeah, man. I felt so happy for this person. I'm yes, you should hear Mike. He's got a lot to say.
Yeah, I agree with you. I got a lot of thoughts about that. I remember when, we would have been late high school, and I wanted to. I was developing a bit of an appreciation for Zeppelin, to go
Yeah.
back to the Zeppelin Effect. And I said, hey man, it was right around the time where you could finally like download songs and burn them on a CD. And I wanted to make myself like a Zeppelin CD. And I went to you, and again, that's in a CD binder in that storage room.
Nice.
And you give me a list of like 20, 25 songs to put on there. And I've since realized you could have just given me the list of albums and it would have essentially been the same thing because they're so good. But I remember one of the things you said to me, you're gonna listen to them, you're gonna hear the melody, you're gonna hear Jimmy Page, you're gonna hear Robert Plant, and obviously you're gonna pick up on Bonzo Bonham. But it's gonna take you a bit of time. When you really start to hear John Paul Jones, that's when you're going to start to hear how great Zeppelin is, and that's kind of always stuck with me. There are definitely mixes and shows where I wish Mike's parts were better. I often think, is it a matter of the speakers and the quality of the headphones I'm listening to the tracks on? As if have you had multiple pairs of headphones in your life, which we all have by now, your 1988 Sony Walkman headphones compared to the headphones you can get now are very different. And I use buds for the most part, which don't give you the bass that you would typically want. So I wonder sometimes if it's that, but I really did notice how much more of Mike's melodies, counter melodies that you could hear. Yeah, he's this band we've talked about many times. The four of them, they all bring so much to it. I don't know of another band that can have four players play as creatively and as assertively as they do at the same time. They don't squabble and wander and like, oh, I don't know if I should play these notes. They commit and they go.
I agree.
And Mike is one of the backbones of that. Him and Fishman are hooked up all the time in the rhythm section, right? Sticking to that. So that's interesting. I didn't watch it from that perspective. Right. I find when I'm watching, but I've since listened to the show again. So I've watched it once and I've listened to it once on the app, and I did notice while listening to it, bass was
like, I hope it's a thing that and I know we've talked about this before. This is kind of an aside. We should get back talking because there's more to talk about in the show. But I'm really hoping that the Dinner and the Movies, number one, that they continue, and number two, that they become the live release for the month too.
Yeah, that was a nice little. I assumed it was going to get dropped on. Yeah, I just figured they're putting it on there. They may as well. But I agree.
Just makes sense. It's just one of those things where you're like, this makes a lot of sense to do it like this.
I would agree with you there. So maybe, hopefully, that's a sign of things to come. So what about highlights of the show? Let's talk set one. Anytime you get a llama opener, holy crap, that song just friggin', it's like being in rocket ship. It's like a slingshot that just friggin' catapults you right off into the show. Love that.
I will say, yes, anything with Machine Gun Trey playing llama is incredible. I do love that, this is just a kind of classic compositional theory. Llama's been played with so much rage and pace in the past. I love that they are knowing that, and they're starting to slow down Llama now, like on purpose. I don't know what year it was, 2019 or 2018. I remember Llama was on the list, and they on purpose played it really, really slow and more groove. Yeah. It sounds awesome.
Yeah, they'll do that every now and then with Water in the Sky, right? You'll get the slow version of Water in the Sky. Yeah, and well, I think generally when you go back to the early 93, 94, the pace at which they played a lot of the songs was faster. I mean,
I think so. Going back to highlights, Llama for sure. Divided Sky. I really love Trey's early 90s. Like, the tone is just the best, man. That song, and you could really hear Mike again. So that was just incredible. What else made it in the first set? What are other highlights?
You had a decent stash in there.
Yep.
Mango song, bouncing around the room, and the Screaming Coil to end the set.
That's my favorite set ender of all time.
Yeah. You like the quiet wind down, eh? You don't like the leave on the like rage.
I like both, but they leave more on a high note than just beautiful arpeggiated playing by Page,
Would you rather the first set close with Screaming Coil or the show?
Oh, you can't close a show on Screaming Coil. You can close a show with multiple nights, a festival with Screaming Coil, but I don't think you can close like a single.
Yeah, gotcha. Set two, a short yet powerful 2001.
Yep.
Right into Split Open and Melt.
It just blew my mind.
Yeah.
That song, just when that one's on, I sent you the text message. I'm like, this has got to be the most underrated Phish song, because when that one is on, it is just fire.
Yeah, it's every time I hear it, it's I think of just what do I so I sort of think of how confusing it can be the first time you listen to it.
Oh, sounds like a
The,
jumbled mess.
the time signature, and if you're dancing to it, it's going to trip you up, right? That extra beat, you got to have a little skip step in there to kind of stay on track with things.
For sure.
Um, I'll say that it's definitely a song that hasn't shined as well in 3.0 as it did in 1 and 2,
I agree.
right? It hasn't sort of taken on its crazy life. And I think for it to be underrated, I agree with you. Like it's on Lawn Boy. It's mixed in with such great songs. And it comes from a time when Phish was just churning out um, great track after great track. And it's not that they are now, but those types of songs are far and few between, right? We're much more into arena dad rock, in terms of the structure of the song itself and how it's written. And the jams take on a life of their own in 3.0, but the songs themselves aren't this complex and complicated. But at that time, so many were. So it just kind of gets to your point about it being underrated, it just gets mixed in with the time, whereas they were just so prolific on the content that they were producing.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's also a great example of something that the band does really, really well is you know, they'll prime you to that part, that ba-na-na, and then it'll go away somewhere like weird. Somebody, right. So to somebody hearing that song, when that part comes back, it just sounds really like really power and really good.
Yeah, yeah, it's an old classic. Here's a good taste. You like this? Take it away. No, you can't have it.
And
And
we'll bring
here
it
you
back.
go, hit you with it again. Yeah, really. I mean, it's a really really great track, and um, it's not as predictable in terms of where it's going to go when the jam gets going, right? Which is also fun. So they're into Fluffhead, which we always love. But I'll say like Fluffhead has definitely evolved. To hear it early in a set, right, compared to all the shows I'm listening to now, I'm in 3.0. It's always a closer or the penultimate song of the set, and it didn't have the big crowd reaction that you typically get in the first. It didn't have that loud pop, so I think it was still sort of marinating with the fans then. Maze, you know how I feel about a second set. Maze, oh, dun, 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 dun. Like I just imagine the walls closing in, dun, 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 dun. So good. And then it kind of really takes, like, I was thinking about the second set. If this was my first show, if I didn't know much about Phish and you brought me along, how would I feel about what I saw in the
Yeah.
second half of the second set? Because it turns, it goes.
I can tell you my wife's comments. It might be interesting because she's a
Yeah,
relatively newer fan,
yeah,
right? Because so personally, like I know the way that the show ended. It
yeah.
does take a turn. See, I think that's awesome. I
Okay,
love it, right? I love that, you know, you bring up Fishman and it gets really, really weird and you end the song on an acapella. My wife didn't love it. My wife respected the fact that they did and they're doing something different,
right.
but like she was like, I didn't love it.
Hmm.
For me, I loved it. I'm like, oh, this is awesome. I've heard hundreds hundreds of Phish shows. So to hear something different sounds pretty cool. But you're
Right.
like, if I showed up, I'd be like, I don't know what happened in the second set, but like all the energy got zapped out of the room.
Right. It's like when they went into, and I hope I don't say it wrong. I mean, they kind of went into Mike's groove, right? Mike's song gets going, and you're like, awesome. And then they go into, and I'm gonna say it wrong, so I apologize. Euro Shalem Shel Zahav, right? Like
Awesome song, by the way.
sounded great, and it wouldn't have been what I would have expected at a rock show again had I been there. But
And then into Weekapaw Groove, you're just like, what the hell? That was
yeah,
awesome.
yeah, and then into a very long, drawn out intro to Purple Rain,
Right.
which doesn't start out great, but gets better. Like the last 2 minutes of that song are awesome when they
I
really just let it go and get loose and really get into it. And there's something with the energy of Hold Your Head Up. I just because I come back to the inside joke with that every single time. That the only reason that came up because Fishman hates that song or hated that song, and as a joke they would play it just to piss him off whenever he was going to sing.
I'm just
So
saying.
when they go into it, da, 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 I just laugh at that. And then Daniel Saw the Stone ending with Good Times, Bad Times. So not a typical second set, which is probably one of the reasons it was selected as a release. And then the encore with Golgi, and then an acapella Freebird. And
with
again,
with Trey air guitar.
I Man, I didn't. Yeah, I thought it was awesome. So yeah, it's really really cool stuff. I think great show to release for long term fans. I think of our episode 10. Episode 10. Do you remember what the topic or the
Nope.
title of our episode 10 was?
I
We
don't
love
remember what
fish.
happened 2 minutes ago, Adam.
Yeah. We I know. We love fish because they don't care.
Right.
Right, and that's the example. They're going to do what they want to do. And keep in mind, this is in a venue of like 19,000 people. We talked about it last week. This is at a time when they're scaling and they're growing really, really quick.
Yeah.
And they're doing a mix of moving out of theaters into bigger venues. And to take a big show like that and to just throw caution to the wind, it is ballsy. I do appreciate that. So
That's how you don't get to be the biggest grossing band. Like you do things like that on purpose.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Right? Like seriously.
Yeah, but Split Open and Melt. The other thing I was going to say about it, we were kind of talking about Tom Hanks earlier. It's just one of those songs where, like, Tom Hanks is great in every movie, right? You can start to sort of list everything that he's been in, and Split Open and Melt is one of those songs that blends in a time where just everything that was coming out at that time was unique, was different. Whereas 3.0, I find it's a little bit watered down in terms of the original music. So
I think you can just say that about the band. Like I think when you really start to, I honestly don't think that we're gonna appreciate them until they're gone forever, like fully gone. Mm-hmm. And you sit down and you, in retrospect, you remember the times that you had in the actual music that was created to be like, I can't believe this. Like I can't believe I'm listening to Split Open and Melt. I'm like, I can't believe somebody made this a thing and they're doing this and it sounds like this. Like I just had that moment where I was like, this is incredible. Mm-hmm. There's so many things that they've done that are just taken for granted, not because like we're on purpose taking it for granted, just because there's so much greatness there, you take it for granted.
Yeah, and just another one of those examples. Switching gears a little bit. I know you're a bit of a fitness buff, so I found on Reddit somebody had sort of put a bit of a fitness regimen to get ready for tour. I don't know if you saw this at all, but I wanted to kind of run it by you because you're a bit of an expert.
Yeah.
So I'll give the user, the poster, credit. It's actually, there's a pretty active user in the group. This is a cat-faced boy man is the name of the user. And they kind of open up with how the pandemic has left them soft and squishy. If tour started tomorrow, I'd burn out long before Dixon. You'd likely find my body under the Atlantic City boardwalk. Right? So kind of went into a bit of a fitness regimen. So I'll ask you and see what you have to say about it. So Monday, spin class. I microdose and do a bunch of bat spins on a 35-degree incline to mentally and physically prepare myself for the gorge lawn. That's Monday. Tuesday, kettlebell lifts. I alternate lifting a handle of kettle vodka with my right hand and a Bell's Two-Hearted Ale with my left, giving my liver a great 1-2 punch of a workout. Wednesday, deadlifts. You're going to like this one. I lift Moonbeam, a 76-year-old deadhead / living carcass that crashes on my couch, straight over my head while he incoherently lectures me about how Jerry is better than Trey because of the notes he didn't play. This is a good one for both Phish Tour and Dead & Company. Thursday, squats. I squat over a toilet until I get close enough to the seat that I can do a line. Any trainer will tell you if you want to pull this off in a porta potty at Deer Creek, the only place to train is an Arby's bathroom. Bonus, your post-workout Arby's meal will absolutely prepare you for that heady lot veggie burrito. Friday, medicine ball toss. I take a random assortment of farmies and an 8-ball of Coke, then go to the farmer's market and crash into innocent bystanders, tossing them aside as I practice getting back to my spot on the rail that my girl, Crystal Beth, is saving for me. Also, if you're at the farmer's market, definitely buy some produce there. Eating organic is so important to good health. 2 more. Saturday, water aerobics. I do 3 cycles of 5 reps of water bong hits, really strengthens the lungs. And if you can handle this, you can handle whatever that twitchy guy in the twiddle shirt laced the joint he passed you. And Sunday's cheat day. After working so hard all week, I deserve a day where I can take a break and do some drugs. In all seriousness, take it easy out there, kids. You don't have to make up for a year and a half of pandemic crappiness all at once. So, really funny post. Yeah, really funny, and it gets me excited to, because in the I guess 10 or so months we've been doing this podcast, we haven't had any real new shows
I
and
know.
experiences to talk about. So I'm really excited to see and experience and hear and whatever, all of the other stuff that goes into the Phish experience, right? The stuff that happens in the lot, all the shenanigans, all the different things that are going to happen on tour. So reading that kind of made me laugh and got me excited. And I wanted to run it by you because you're all about health. So what do you think about that fitness regime? Good?
Perfect. Perfect.
I can't even imagine. All right. So what else did I have here? Not much else really. I mean, I guess in a couple of weeks we've got Trey's solo gigs coming up. He announced a couple more, doing 2 shows at the Beacon. That's in June, right? So
Yep.
warming up. I'm sure. Anything you're excited for there? Again, I know. Looking forward to what he's going to say. And
I'm more excited. Like I said, I'm more excited to hear what he's going to talk about and if he's going to play any new music.
yeah, new songs would be nice. New cover, like I said last week. I think we're due for that. Would be really, really good. I'm whipping through 2011. I just finished up 2 days at the Gorge, which is always really, really good. I enjoy that. Oh, here's one that I wanted to ask you.
Sure.
If this is a good, so this is a guitar question. If Trey had never met Paul Languedoc, so Paul never shows up on the scene, what kind of what kind of a guitar would Trey be playing?
I think he was playing an Ibanez before.
Yeah.
So probably something like that. Probably something single coil, Strat.
What do you mean by single coil?
So single coil has a certain sound. Like when you hear that Jimi Hendrix sound,
Okay.
that's like a really classic single coil. It's got that bite to it. It sounds really bright.
Okay.
Versus Gibson sound. So the humbucker sound is more like a Jimmy Page slash type of sound.
Gotcha.
And now the nice thing about the Languedoc is it can really kind of do both. Like Trey really has both kind of tone extremes that he goes in between, and you can hear both of them all the time. Sometimes it's like really bitey, like when he plays Shock Dust Torture.
Okay.
You know, and sometimes it's really smooth, like when they play some of the jazzier songs, like the start to split open and melt, or it's ice. You know, so I mean, it's really versatile. But I think he'd play something Strat, like single coil, if I had to pick one.
Okay. So I mean, we just watched a show from '93, listened to a show from '93, and I'm sure you obviously know all the newer stuff. What are the biggest differences in his style of play then versus now that you've noticed as a guitar player?
The pace,
Yeah.
definitely.
As in like the pace of the song or on solos?
Both.
Okay.
Both. Like and I think his approach. I mean, oh man, there's so many. It's hard to say. The tone's different. Like his tone in definitely 2019 and 2018 has been, and even like the whole 3.0, like the guitar just sounds different.
Mm.
You know, it sounds different from tour to tour. You really notice a big difference if you were listening. If I notice a big difference from like 2011 to 2019, the way the tone sounds. His note selection, he doesn't play as fast as he used to. Now, whether he can or not, it's a different story.
Mm.
And I think it's more straightforward now than it was before. If I had to like kind of sum it up, you know, before it seemed like a part of it was like, look at what I can do.
I was gonna say, we talked a lot about ambitious Phish and the out to prove something Phish, and
Yeah.
that style of playing very much goes along with that time of the band, right? Where he's out to.
It's really interesting, you know, because you mentioned it earlier. I think you were spot on when you were talking about the show in '93. You know how like they all feed off each other and how they go for it. So like the reverence for making the song the best has always been there, no matter what version of Phish we get. That was always primary. We always want to make the song it about the song versus, hey, look what I can do.
Yeah.
Right. But now it's even less than that. It's more, you know, like it doesn't feel like they have anything left to prove. It just feels like they're doing it for the love of everything. Right. So if you had to like come up with a guitar tone that said that's what 2019, 2020 Trey sounded like.
Gotcha. Right. And is he heading into that, coming back to that comment in there about Moonbeam, the deadhead carcass, about the notes that Jerry didn't play is what made him so great? Is that where we're headed with Trey? Because yeah, it's definitely slowing down. I noticed that, and even coming back to Mike's playing. I find in the 3.0 stuff, he's definitely comparing it to that 93 show. He's not moving as quickly. He's more melodic. There's a little bit more space in between
Yeah.
his notes.
Yeah.
So, but I guess that also comes with experience and just uh, mastering your instrument more. You don't need to necessarily prove that it's about something different at that point.
Well, I mean, again, this is why you can never argue who's better. It comes down to taste, and you can see the YouTube thread was actually really interesting to read because there wasn't that many comments on there, and I read through, and some people were, oh, I missed 93, I missed this band, I missed this pace, I missed this like fury, and some people were like, oh, they've never been better, these were great days, but
Yeah.
it all depends on what you prefer.
Hmm.
Like there's sometimes where I like that. That's what I grew up with, right? So there's part of me that's nostalgic, but I also really like it as a guitar player and as a musician. But I don't know, man. Sometimes the 3.0 sounds just as good, if not better.
Mhm.
So it's hard to say.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I can tell you, I like where I'm at in terms of the 2011 shows. The sets are really, really good. They're a little more unpredictable. um, it's just, yeah, I like where it's at, and we'll see. Hopefully, when we get something in a couple months. Actually, it's next month. Technically, we're in June now. Tour starts in July, so we're 1 month away.
What's the yeah, but like late July, right?
It's the 28th. It's 2 months, like 8 weeks. But
Oh,
that's
we waited this long, man. We can make it another.
yeah, 8 weeks is nothing. Couch tour starts soon. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they got to announce that. You know what's gonna happen? I'm gonna be so disappointed. They're sending out the Gorge tickets. I'm gonna actually get the physical tickets. I'm gonna be reminded one more time why I can't go on Phish Tour when the tickets arrive to my house and I have to turn them around and sell them to somebody on StubHub.
Yeah, it sucks. Bigger problems to have, sure, but it still sucks. So,
Oh, of course, there's bigger problems to have, man. There's always bigger problems to have.
true
But
story.
you're right. Still sucks.
You're right. All right, man. That's all I've got for this week. Anything else from you?
No, I'm good. I actually wish there was more dinner and a movies to listen to be honest.
Or if they would just kind of like stick around, if the archive was up, imagine that, all 32, 33 episodes, whatever it is. It's a lot. It's a
But I'll
lot.
keep. I'm in the start of the 3 night run at Hampton in '97. So pretty
Ooh,
awesome.
ooh, watch out. Ooh, you're gonna get more gray hair.
Oh, dude, it's just stupid. It's just stupid. I'm just like fuck, man. I'm telling you, that timber takes off after timber into simple, and then it's just fucking game over after that.
Yeah, it's the TSN turning point.
Speaking of the TSN turning point, how about them Leafs?
So first time I've watched a hockey game in a long time. I actually watched it last night, and yeah, they didn't play very well. Too bad. So sad.
I'm turning into my dad, man. I'm turning into my dad. I got better things to do than watch morons chase around a piece of rubber for 3 hours.
But yeah, I appreciate a good game, but yeah, I just can't invest the time. There's just so much time invested with sports, and I only got so much of it. And I think we've talked about this. I don't know if on air or off air, but I've gotten to an age where I'm older than just about all of the players, and they don't seem to have the same type of, when you're a kid and you look up to an athlete, like wow. When you become older, I mean, I still appreciate what they can do and everything else, but these guys are kids for the most part. They're young guys. I'm not going to worship some 22-year-old because he can skate really well.
I feel exactly the same. I actually, to take it a step further, and feel free if like the three listeners get pissed off and leave, feel free. But like, I secretly get disappointed when I see like an older man wearing like a kid's uniform. I'm like,
Dude,
what are
dude,
you doing?
I saw that yesterday. I was coming home and I was waiting to turn left at a light, but there was a pedestrian crossing and I had to wait for him to cross. And he had to have been, he's older than me. He's wearing a Connor McDavid jersey. I was just like, oh, okay, well, all right, whatever. Yeah, I don't know. Not
Like,
to judge, but yeah, whatever.
We're humans. We judge. That's our nature. That's what we do. We just literally recorded half an hour judging a band.
That's a true story. That's right. You just don't have to listen to the opinion if you don't like it, right?
Oh, that's fine. And listen, like there's people that for certain aspects, like, you know, like for, in a way, I idolize Trey Anastasio as a guitar player. Like I want to play like that, but he's not, you know, you kind of like, and there's always going to be parts of human beings that you admire, but like they're not my moral compass.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like my complete role model in life here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. I mean, they often say to never meet your heroes. You got to meet Trey and you had a good experience, but you're right. You know.
Right. Oh, I think you shouldn't meet your heroes. I think one of two things are going to happen. You're going to be like blown away by how incredibly better they were than you ever expected, or two, you're going to find out they're a piece of shit asshole and be like, you know what? I'm going to show you. You turn into 93 Phish and you be like, listen, motherfucker.
Oh man, that's perfect. And on that note, I think we say goodbye. Motherfuckers. Have a great week, everyone.
See you, bud.